Hello everybody, my name is Zwhatsh and welcome to Awesome Epic Guys. So, the black market ended recently and some jokers were truly in there. I'm gonna briefly go over the tanks in this year's black market and our opinion about them. The first was the Lance & Sea for 8.5 million credits, which is a great offer if you are a free-to-play player. The second offer was the AMX 1357F for 7,000 gold, which is a decent price for a tier 7 premium. The third offer was the Chrysler GF at an auction, which is a new feature for this year's black market. Essentially, you could bid as much as you wanted, although at a minimum price, and the top X amount of players would get the tank after a few hours. So this auction feature was kind of a good news, bad news situation. The good thing about this was that you got a lot of time to think and you could get away with tanks at very good prices. The bad thing is that it was pretty unclear if you would actually receive the tank or not, due to some people bidding a lot more and some people bidding less. Very random depending on offers. The Chrysler, in my opinion, was not worth a lot of money though. Pretty lame tank. The next offer was the Lef for 300 gold, which is just... no. Get this out of my face. And then the fiasco. They sold what looked like the Su-76I, which is a super rare, low-tier Russian tank destroyer. But due to some internal error, when you purchased the tank, it would give you a tier 4 Chinese tank destroyer instead. Although, you would eventually receive the Su-76I after some struggle, so it would actually appear in your garage afterwards. But the biggest problem about this was that if you already had the Chinese tank destroyer in your garage, you were not able to take part of the offer. It would just say that you already owned the vehicle. So Wargaming, if you are watching, please sell the Su-76I properly at the next black market again, for those who were not able to take part of this offer. Then you could buy the Carnarvon Action 10 at an auction. The Carnarvon Action 10 at an auction. Personally, I don't have any strong opinions about this one. It's not a particularly interesting vehicle. It's been available a few times for purchase, as well as in a marathon. Then they sold the Death Star for 22 million credits, which is 1 million credits cheaper than last year, lol. Then they sold the Type 59G at an auction, which was absolutely crazy. The minimum price was 20k gold, but this was absolutely not even close to what people were paying for this thing. I think people got this for between 42k gold and 100k gold. So yeah, we don't approve about they selling this tank at an auction. It just forces people to throw too much money. Then they sold the Panzer 38H at an outrageous 9,500 gold. This is definitely not worth it if you are just looking to buy a tier 2 premium tank. The price is most likely due to the vehicle's rarity and nothing else. Simply a collector's tank. Then they sold the Black Mutts at an auction. I think one of the lowest bids were between 3 million and 4 million, which is absolutely great. Then they sold ×3 campaign orders for the first campaign. And I've been hearing that people have mixed opinions about this, but personally I thought it was great as I don't play artillery, so I could skip some artillery missions. You could not use these to instantly obtain the Object 260, as some people made it sound like. Only to skip some missions along the way that you were stuck on. The campaign orders weren't limited as well, which highly decreased the stress. You had a lot of time to think if you actually wanted these campaign orders or not, which was very good. Then they sold a 261 style for 261 gold. Personally, I thought this was a pretty funny deal, and some people got it for exactly 261 gold, lol. Then they sold the EBR 75 at an auction. Not sure why they sold this one, as it's not particularly rare. And then they sold the BTSV at an auction for a minimum of 10 million credits. Wouldn't say it's even worth 10 million credits, as it's a low tier tank. It's another one of those collector's vehicles. Any tank with a ridiculously high price is usually sold at that price because they are rare and nothing else. The market has ended for now, but I can almost guarantee you that it will appear again sometime in the future. This shit is just bringing in too much money for Wargaming. I wanted to make this video to have a speculative discussion with you guys on what tanks could possibly appear in the future. The black market is infamous for bringing up old rarities from the past, but also for bringing forth legends that we did not think was possible. So let's discuss rare tanks, shall we? Let's dig into the absolute highest rarities of World of Tanks, but also explore some tanks that has never seen the light of the live client before. Firstly, let's mention some tanks that are pretty infamous, but which I'm highly skeptical of their chances of appearing in the black market. I'm talking about the KV-22 beta test and the Panzerkampfwagen 5/4 Alpha. The KV was granted to people on the RU and C server as a reward for playing the beta. On EU, I think it's only available on press accounts. The Panzer was given to, I quote, to those that were of service to wargaming early in World of Tanks development. These two tanks are basically already in the game in the form of KV-222 and the Panzer 5/4. The KV has been sold countless amount of times and the Panzer was available in the last black market. I don't think the beta and alpha versions will ever be sold as they are identical copies of already existing tanks and serve more as trophies for the players who played the game at launch. Moving over to tanks that I think are highly likely to appear in the market in the future. The two rarest tanks on the European server currently are probably the A32 and the M4A2E4 Sherman. The Sherman was awarded to players who managed to play at least 1000 battles during beta testing. It mostly functions like the already existing M4 Sherman, but it's larger, has worse modules, and has preferential matchmaking. The A32 was originally available as part of the game's light pre-order package, but was also briefly sold in the gift shop. It resembles an A20, but has better armor and more hit points, but has lower shell velocity. These two tanks are probably the most uncommon tanks that has ever been available for the public, at least on the European server. If you see one of these on the battlefield, you are quite lucky, or even up. If you own one of these, you are pretty dang cool, bro. I also want to mention some premium tanks that has been sold to everyone in the premium shop, but has due to either poor marketing, being uninteresting at the time, or just being quite bad, not been sold very well. And because of this, ending up being a rarity. T-78. Do you remember that we made a video about this tank some time ago? No? Yeah, me neither. This tank has a lot of resemblance of the Hellcat, both in appearance and playstyle. Personally, I never see these things on the battlefield. I think it's just quite an uninteresting tank. It has a pretty cool style attached to it though, and bringing it up in the black market will probably hype it up a bit. LOSA's M4A2 Sherman. It's basically a clone of the M4A3 E8 Sherman, but Russian. So it probably has a bunch of bias. Anyways, I think there are at least a billion Shermans in the game by now, so I think this one didn't sell well just due to the already high amount of Shermans in the game. Kanonen Jagdpanzer. Not the 105, but the 90mm version. Even the 105 is a rare sight on the battlefield, but the original one is at least double as rare to see on the battlefield. The general public deems this tank as a worse counterpart to the 105, but it has its fans, and it's certainly a rarity nowadays. And that's pretty much all of the tanks that has been available to the public in some way that I would deem as pretty rare, and probably has a shot at appearing inside the black market. If you own any of these tanks, you can officially say that you're pretty rad. You got some cool points from me, dude. But do you remember when the Type 59G was sold? People were just joking about that thing actually appearing in the black market. But then it actually did, and the World of Tanks community was hit by a storm. So how come the community was discussing this tank even before it was sold? Why would Wargaming sell a tank that had never appeared in the client before? Let me answer those questions for you. The Type 59G already had a very strong reputation as it was present on the Chinese client. So the Chinese client is run by a completely different company than Wargaming, and they handle things a lot differently around those parts. Essentially, you can buy any premium tank ever, at all times, including more tanks that has never been available on any other server. They, for example, made tanks such as the 59 Patton and the entire Chinese tank destroyer tech tree. These were eventually brought over to all of the other clients due to high community demand. Anyways, on this Chinese server, the Type 59G or Gold was born, and it was only available on that server for many years before it eventually appeared on the black market on all the other clients. So, if the Type 59G, that was only ever available on the Chinese server before, was brought over to all of the other clients via the market, could the same thing happen in the future with other tanks? Let's take a closer look on what the Chinese server has to offer. So the first tank I noticed was a tank called the 113 Beijing Opera, which is essentially a reskin of the 113 with a red-greyish paint job. It does not appear to have any 3D assets attached, but anyhow, I think it looks pretty dope. Would definitely want this vehicle for myself. Then we have the WZ 120G, which is a Chinese premium tier 9 tank destroyer. I know that this vehicle has been in the game files for a while, and I've been waiting for a long while for anything to happen with it. But nothing. Seems like the Chinese weren't patient enough and just implemented it into their own client right away. They also have the ISU 130 here. This tank is pretty peculiar as it previously was only ever available on press accounts worldwide, but recently the NA server actually sold these vehicles. But for us EU plebs, this thing is a great rarity though, and I would love to own one myself. Personally, I hope this thing appears in the black market or something similar. We actually played the ISU 130 in a past Frontline video, so if you're interested in that, we have a card to that above. This thing has also been residing in the game files for years. Well, everywhere else than in China, that is. This thing looks monstrous, and I would love to own one. Some press accounts has it on the EU client, but not much more than that I know of. Kirovets 1. An IS-3 with a flat upper plate. Kind of a weird one. Not much to say about it. Seen it in the game files for a while as well. Oh yeah, the Chinese also has the Waffle Tractor as a premium. I doubt this thing will ever get re-released outside of China. Especially not in the black market. It would cause too much of a shitstorm. At least not in the state as it was in when it was removed. Unfortunately, I was not able to get into the client itself, only the premium shop, but I found some interesting old and new screenshots. This one, for example, is of a tier 10 premium, the Object 268 version 5, which is a turreted Soviet tank destroyer. We'd love to see this one in our client. They also have the Chieftain on the Chinese server, a fan favorite. I'm still not sure why they haven't released it yet on any other client, apart from console that is. I also found a screenshot of this magnificent thing, the WZ 111 Kirin. Now, this is definitely the Type 59G taken to the next level. I absolutely love how this thing looks. Unfortunately, I was not able to find a model of this thing, only screenshots. But if Wargaming wants to go a level above the Type 59G, they should definitely bring this thing to the rest of the world. This thing would sell like bananas. This is like Type 59 Platinum at tier 10, basically. When I was browsing through tanks.gg to look for models of all the tanks you have been seeing in this video, I also found some peculiarities that I had never seen anywhere else than right here at tanks.gg. Let's take a brief look at them before carrying on. The first one is this German low-tier heavy premium tank called the VK6501H. Then this low-tier Japanese premium called the Type 98 Kenny Otsu. A non-skinned version of the Panzer 58 Mutz, which is just called the Panzer 58. A tier 10 American medium tank with the longest name in the history of long names. M48A2/T54E2/T123E6. And finally, this variation of the tier 10 Chieftain reward tank. So before we go any further, I would like to give a small input on the black market on the black market this year. I heard that a lot of people were upset about this year's offers, saying it was a joke, etc. Personally, I thought this year's black market was decent. Not great, but decent. The only thing I didn't really like was the Type 59G being sold at an auction, and it was like sold for a ridiculous amount of gold, and no, I didn't like that. And as well as the SU-76-1 fiasco. Regarding the Type 59G though, I hope you are all aware that what you are paying for is essentially a skin. Regarding the SU-76I thing, I just really hope that Wargaming sells the SU-76I again at the next black market. I think that Wargaming is almost obligated to do this. If you're watching, I think you really have to do that, Wargaming, because it was kind of a screw up on your part. Some other complaints I've been hearing is that they found the offers uninteresting. They were expecting tanks like the Chieftain Mark 6 and the Waffenträger E100. I don't think Wargaming will ever sell exclusive gameplay features in the black market, as in selling exclusive tanks that has never been available to the public before. All of the tanks sold in the black market has at some point been available to the public before. But Zwhatsh, the Type 59 Gold had never been available to the public before. Yes, that is true. But like I said, the Type 59 Gold is essentially a tank skin, just like the 261 skin. It's not a new gameplay feature. The Type 59 is already in the game. Let me ask you this. What if Wargaming sold the Chieftain Mark 6 in the black market for, I don't know, a ridiculous amount of money in, I don't know, 1,000 units, and they're all purchased? Sure, those 1,000 players would be like, hell yeah, I got an awesome fan favorite tank that a community has been asking for years. But the rest of the thousands of players would riot. They would be pissed. They would be pissed that such a tank would never be available to them ever again. Because selling the Chieftain Mark 6 would essentially be selling an exclusive gameplay feature that had never been available to the public before. And this is not what the black market is about. The black market is about selling tanks that very little people have, as well as selling tanks at never seen before prices, like selling premiums for credits and so on. The only exclusive features that we have seen in the black market is essentially skins, like the Type 59 Gold and the 261 artillery skin. And that leads us to the grand conclusion. What rare tanks do I think will appear in the black market? Well, as mentioned, I only think that tanks that has at some point been available to the public will appear in the black market. Out of the tanks showcased in this video, here is a list of potential candidates. First of all, we have just the kinda uncommon premium tanks, the T-78, Losses M4A2 Sherman, and Kanonen Jagdpanzer, and probably a lot of other just uncommon premiums. But I've been looking at Zwhatsh.eu, and these seems to be kind of the most rarest ones. Secondly, we have the old rarities from the dawn of World of Tanks, the A32 and the M4A2E4 Sherman. Thirdly, maybe the ISU 130. It's not a rarity on NA as it's been sold in a premium shop there, but here on EU it's considered a legend, kind of. And finally, if they're gonna bring something over from the Chinese server like they did with the Type 59 Gold, I think it's only gonna be tanks that are essentially skins. So, like the 113, Beijing Opera, and the WeSaid 111 Queen. For the rest of the tanks that I have showcased in this video, I'm actually not really sure. what plans Wargaming have for them. Some of them have been in the game files for years and nothing is happening. I'm simply gonna leave all of that speculation to you guys in the comment section below. Please let me know if you have any theories going around, and please let me know what you thought of the black market as well. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this trip to the deepest corners of World of Tanks, exploring interesting and obscure vehicles. If you did, please consider giving this video a like and maybe even subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out here. And yeah, I will be seeing you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.